Hi, I'm JJ. Welcome back. So I recently posted a video where I went to one of our used bookstores that was having a sale for $1 a bag. And so I showed most of them that I got, but then I went back and I got some more. So I am including all of them. I'm not going to go through and explain what each one is because most of the time it sounded good, it looked good, and when you can fill $1 a bag, you don't really overly care. So some of them are absolutely completely random, and I understand that. Anyway, without further ado, this is the rest of my book haul. And I also did include a couple of special books as well, because I did get a few gifted books, as well as in another local bookstore, I was able to, when I bring in the ones that I've read that I want to get rid of, they give me store credit, and so I did get a book that way as well. So these first pile of books, though, a bunch of them, these ones were all for the bag of books. So I have like 23 for $3. So anyway, here they are. And they're not always in the best of condition, but I don't really care either. This is Alex and Me by Irene Pepperberg, and this is the how a scientist and a parrot uncovered the hidden world of an animal intelligence and formed a deep bond in the process. So I thought this was fascinating. It does have writing on it, so I am trying to cover that up. These ones, the first pile, are all nonfiction. This is The Upside of Your Dark Side, Why Being Your Whole Self, Not Just Your Good Self, Drives Success and Fulfillment. I don't know if I'll read this one, but it did fascinate me with the title. This is The Churchill Sisters, The Extraordinary Lives of Winston and Clementine's Daughters, Rachel Trethway, or by Rachel Trethway. And so I do have the Clementine biography about her. So this is their children, and so this should be interesting just for what all they lived through in the world that they saw and how it changed for them and stuff. Sleeping with the Devil, How Washington Sold Our Soul for Saudi Crude. And this is by Robert Baer. So I'm not quite sure, but it kind of might be interesting from a political aspect. Travels Through Endangered Seas. This is Ocean's End by Colin Woodward. And so this is going to be like climate science and stuff like that. So this is by Niall Ferguson, The Great Degeneration, How Institutions Decay and Economies Die. So this will be interesting too. I could probably read for quarter 4 of Historathon. And then I got one more nonfiction. I kind of did also group these by hardcover. And this last nonfiction is by Tom Brokaw. He's a famous, or was a famous, news anchor in the United States. And this is called The Greatest Generation. So it is the age during the Great Depression through the Second World War. But then how they went on to build modern America, apparently, is where he's going through. And he would have an interesting perspective because he reported on a lot of that news. So, and then the rest of them are all fiction. This is America, America by Ethan Cannon. I've not read anything of his, but I do, I have heard of The Palace Thief that he has written. This is The Book of Polly by Catherine Heppenstall, and this is a woman's or a girl's relationship with her mother, and her mother's name is Polly, and she's not a very good mother, and she's trying to understand her so that they could like move past all of that intergenerational trauma, and she can try to understand her mom a little bit better. It sounded fascinating because I do love character-driven stories, and I do love family sagas and stuff. So this is The Red Dahlia by Linda LaPlante, and this is a thriller. There was a famous unsolved murder, Black Dahlia, and this would be like, I think it's a copycat killer, kind of recreating that story. And since the Black Dahlia was never solved, they want to try to figure out how it is connected, because that did take place in the 1940s. So how do they know so many of the details and all that stuff? I have been trying recently to get back into thrillers as a genre, and that would be one that is on my list to do. So this is Good Harbor by Anita Diamant, and she did read or write The Red Tent, which has been on my list, and it's a biblical feminist retelling of one of the sisters in the Bible, and now I can't remember, but I believe it was one of the unnamed sisters of like Joseph and Reuben and Levi, and all, you know, the essentially the 12 tribes, and so she gets attacked and stuff in the Bible, and so that was like going to be a retelling of that, and like from her point of view, and what that all means for her, and as well as the family and stuff. And so this is that book has been on my list. So when I saw that she wrote that, I got this one too. And it's another connection, like women as friends, and their relationship through trauma and stuff like that. This is Northernmost by Peter Guy, and just the idea that it would take place in the Arctic is fascinating to me, but it's also set in 1897. So historical fiction set in the Arctic is right up my alley. I really do hope that it includes, you know, kind of like survival-ish stuff. And this one is called Lookout by Christine Bile. I'm kind of taking too long, and I don't know even really what all these are about, so I'm just going to kind of go a little bit faster. The next one is the 351 Books of Irma Arcuri, and this is by David Bajo. And who does not like books about books? We're all readers, so I'm assuming that you do as much as I do. And so this woman, it's about a woman who dies and leaves her books with you know, whoever it is that inherits them, has to figure out why those books were important to her and why he gets them and stuff like that. So I'm kind of anxious. I do hope that it actually discusses what those books are. I'm always, as if my TBR is not already very long, I do always like hearing about new books. This is The Dark Winter by David Mark. It's another thriller. This one is The Seasons of Binto Blackbird, and this is by Akusa Busia. And then this one, Lipstick Jungle. I've actually heard about this as a TV show. I did not know it was a book, and it's by Candace Bushnell. So I'm kind of curious about that one. The Last Exile, one man's journey into the wild, unsettled Canada of the 18th century, a voyage that takes him into the darkness of his own heart. So that sounded interesting to me. This is The Double Blind. This is by Chris Baholian. They also wrote Midwives, which I thought was a TV show, but I'm not sure if it's the same one. And this is Simon and the Oaks by Marianne Fredrickson. And this one is also historical fiction because it's the rise of Hitler in Germany and the coming of the war to Sweden's neighbors. So there's this Swedish guy who befriends a young Jew, Isaac. The Bastard Out of Carolina by Dorothy Allison. And this is an old movie that I watched from like the 90s. I remember it being traumatizing for me that I should not have watched it as a kid, but I probably will get more out of it as a book as an adult. This is The Good Body by Bill Gaston. And this is about a retired pro hockey player, and I'm always going to read any kind of sports story ever. So, and then the last one that I got in that book haul, so these were all for $3, is The Emancipation of Evan Walls by Jeffrey Blunt. And I also don't know for sure what that one's about, but yeah, all of those for $3. And then this one I got from a booktube friend, Jenny. I believe it's Gables is the channel that I'll link it down below. But thank you, Jenny, for sending me I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. I had mentioned that I had wanted to read it, and she had a double copies of it, so she did send me one, and I thank you for that. I also had a coworker who just got back from vacation in Iceland, and I had mentioned, because she's the only one in my real life that I talk about books with all the time. She went to this huge book sale with me as well, and she was going to go to bookstores in Iceland, and I said it would be really cool to have a Icelandic book from an Icelander. So she got me Independent People because I had said that I had mentioned I read this book, and so she got me the Icelandic version. Obviously, I cannot read any of it, but it's actually a very beautiful copy because it does have footnotes and stuff. If I could read I would get even more out of the story, but it was an interesting story anyway when I read it. And that's by Halldór Laxness, and I believe he was award-winning and everything like that. And it's about this herder, like a sheep herder who had to work the land for people most of his life, and he finally was able to break free and have his own land now, his own farm and herd. And he was so obsessed with being independent. He did not want help from anyone. He did not let anyone in, including his own family. He kind of drove his wife away. He had bad relationships with his children, a couple of which ended up dying young. And it really affected his remaining daughter, his relationship with her. And he about lost every single person he's ever cared about just because he was so intent on making it on his own and never going back, that he failed to see what was important to him. And it was it's a long story. At parts it was slow, but it was very interesting just to see how he just didn't get it and how much he kept losing, because he was just so bound and determined not to change and to not see how the world was changing around him. So it's not going to be a copy that I can ever read, but it's a great collection, a collectible for my my shelves and stuff. So I'm really thankful that she gave that to me. And then the other one I got was, like I said, it was credits at a used bookstore. And this is The Death and Life of the Great Lakes by Dan Egan. I was fascinated by this one because I live in Michigan, so I am surrounded by the Great Lakes. They're always so important to us here. And I'm only, you know, like 15 minutes from one of the, from Lake Michigan. And so, like, you know, that's where you spend your summers and stuff. And like, I just, you know, have so many memories involving the lakes. And this is about the importance of them to the world, and how much we need to save them, because it is fresh water. And so it says in here that they hold 20% of the world's supply of surface fresh water. And that's a huge amount. Like, people, when they think of lakes, they don't realize how huge the Great Lakes are. But they're massive, especially Lake Superior. And this will be an interesting further information and research for me about the area that I've always grew up in. So I was excited to find this book and to get it. But what's also fascinating, and I already had done a video for Saracen about Michigan, and talked about the salt mines that are under the Great Lakes, because they weren't always fresh. They, you know, they were salt water, but, you know, like, you know, the ecosystem happens, or the ecosystem, and you get all the changes and stuff. And so the salt went down, and so now it's below ground. And so you have the fresh water that provides a lot to the world, but then you also have all these salt mines that also provide for the world, and especially for the United States, underneath, and which is, I think, really cool. And also, they used to, that's what they used for ice, before we had refrigeration and stuff. When you had ice boxes, they would chip huge chunks of ice from the Great Lakes, and then bring them even so far down south, so that they could have refrigeration and ice boxes, and they came from the Great Lakes, which is also fascinating for me. Anyway, I'm sorry for my tangent, but anyway, those are all the books that I got. Couple gifts, one through credit, and the majority of these were all only for $3. So I thought, at least if I can find a couple of them, even one that's a great read, it will have been worth it. So anyway, I look forward to sharing more. They do have these events, I guess they said, like up to 3 times a year. So I just found out about this store. It's near work, so I probably will be hitting it up during the next quarter, or whenever they have that sale again. But anyway, thank you as always, and happy reading.